tuned for the Joan Quinn Profiles. As an editor for Andy Warhol's Interview, the Los Angeles Herald-Examiner, LA Style, and Detour magazines, Joan covered the social set, the Hollywood hotshots, the international art scene, the mysteries of food, the excitement of travel, and the fabulous world of fashion. Joan continues to find creative people on the cutting edge who make things happen. Here's Joan AGAJANIan Quinn.
We have actor-model Juan Fernandez and artist Tom X as our guests. Artist Tom X, I can't say that the right way, spent a lot of time between the years of 1963 and 1980 in the art departments at Yale, the New School, RUIZ, Rhode Island School of Design, University of Colorado, and San Francisco Art Institute, just to mention a few of the schools. Tom is well qualified to teach art in this classic sense, but he takes on a strange, almost evangelical approach to his instruction. He has the Tom X Drive-Through School of Art, which sounds not what any artist would want to say he does. What is this, Tom?
Well, Joan, I call it the Drive-Through School of Art. That's learn to paint and draw in four sessions. Money-back guarantee. That's for beginners of all ages and levels. And I consider myself a beginner. I've been working for 30 years. What else is it that I say about that?
How do you teach in 4 days?
4 sessions. And I actually do a 1-session shot too. You know, it depends how long we have, because I go into the schools and I give a 1-session experience. I've been working for 30 years, and I really wanted to take what I've learned in 30 years, and I'm convinced I can concentrate that down into 4 sessions, and we have a diploma.
Yeah, here's your diploma.
There you go. I don't know if you can see that on the screen there. And I tell everybody you have to attend all 4 sessions and do the homework and at least check out the reading list to get the diploma.
And so you really do give it's no joke, you really do give a well-rounded class.
Oh, I'm serious. I really aim to teach everything that I've learned in 30 years in 4 sessions. The thing is, of course, then it's like, how do you get to Carnegie Hall after that? You know, you got to take a cab, subway, or it's practice. You know, I mean, there's not that much that you can tell someone or they experience, and then after that, it's doing it.
I saw one of your sessions, and I noticed you used charcoal, you used a lot of fabric material. What did you use to rub things?
Oh, cloth or chamois or anything just to rub with. Yeah. And
you talked about lights and darks, and I guess if you just cover a certain amount of things.
Well, there's only so many basics, you know, there really are only so many basics. Then after that, it's the doing it. So, I don't know.
What is the X for in your name? Did you want to be a rock star? And you ended up as an artist?
Actually, you know, the thing is, I wanted to pick a really generic name, and I was 14, and this was a really long time ago. That was back, well, it was somewhere like in the early 60s or maybe it was even the late 50s. And I had a really generic name. I wanted to get an even more generic name, and I thought, well, I thought I'd put an X. People didn't believe that was my name, and so I thought, well, I'll put an X in the middle and see what that does. And really, after I put X in my name, you'd be surprised. Almost no one asked me if I don't think anyone asked me if that's my real name anymore.
You mean Tom X? No one's surprised at it?
No.
What did you put the X between? What 2 names?
Well, I've used a few other names, you know, like Smith, Jones, Johnson, any of those in there, some of those, and with an X in between, no one anymore ever again after that ever asked me, was that my real name? I mean, I don't ever even think once.
So it was really in regards to art, no other field that you wanted to be in. The X was just your art name. Well,
or just my name, period. I mean, people have always asked me and the other thing is a lot of people ask me, what does it stand for? That's X with a period, and I think it stands for itself. You know?
Way before Malcolm X.
It was a long time ago.
It was a long time ago. We have some of your really fabulous paintings on the wall, here on the set. What kind of material do you use, and what style of painting do you do to get this?
Well, these are done with these are oil on canvas, and I work with oil on canvas, on paper, bronze, and what are they done with? My fingers, hands, knives, brushes.
Oh, you use a variety for
Yeah.
one painting. You don't just use. What else?
And
You're trying to think of what else you use.
what else? What else? You've watched me, don't you know?
I know. I think you use a lot of your hand. You like that feeling of what's going on the canvas, it seems.
The whole thing, I think, you know, the most important thing is that you don't learn how to paint and draw. I'm convinced of this. What it is you unlearn how to see.
Oh.
And that's the whole thing right there, to me.
When we talk about your artists getting diplomas, have you ever, in all the years that you've taught this class, had someone who's really gone on to be a successful artist?
Oh yeah, I mean, actually, you know, I've given crits for years, and I didn't really officially start running the drive-through School of Art until I came back from Germany 2 years ago, and there they said, I met a critic who was reviewing a show of mine, and he said that he was a painter, and it took him, he did portrait, and I said, well, I do portrait too, and he said it took him 6 months to do a portrait, and I said, yeah, you know, I've got like about a moment to get what I want to get. I'm drive-through, it's American style, in and out.
Someone asked if it was drive-through, if you come out to the car and teach them in the car.
It's while you wait.
Oh, that's what it is, while you wait.
I don't say how long you might have to wait, you know.
You did coin a phrase, I think, I don't know if it was when you came to LA or if you were still in New York, recession art.
Yeah, a lot of people have asked me, I just finished doing a show here in Hollywood called Recession Art, and probably the biggest question I get asked is, why do you call it recession art? Which, I mean, to me, we're in a recession, you know, it is recession art. It's art that's come out of this time, which is a horrendous time. I was here, when I came here last year, it was to the day I set up to the hour of the LA riots. And
but we were already in a recession before the riots.
well, I know that, but it's gotten worse.
Yeah, but what does recession art actually mean?
Well, to me, it's the art that's of this time, you know, and all of what's happening with this time. Also, I mean, I could mention that paintings of mine that sold for, small paintings that sold for like $7,000 or $8,000. Today, I sell for $350. So I think that's a recession, don't you?
I think it's well. I think it's really applying your work to the times. I think it's applying what you know. I always look at art as a luxury, and it's something that people really don't need. And if you come down to the situation, or make the situation so that people can't resist it, you're going to continue your work, and it's going to make you grow.
I'm actually now, I used to do really big paintings, and I still do some big paintings, but one day I thought, I can't stop painting. For me, art isn't a luxury, it's a necessity. You know, I would die if I don't have art or do art, and so...
But that's an artist's point of view.
That's
I think
right.
where the general public looks at it, and art is a luxury.
But anyway, so for me, that was what I thought, you know, as I have to paint, and so I thought, well, I'll do small paintings.
And that
you know, and that way I can keep painting. And now really I'm actually doing way more paintings than I've ever done before. And, you know, meanwhile our country financial situation gets worse and worse every day, you know.
Do other artists agree with you? Have you talked about this recession art idea with other artists,
well, you know,
working
I guess
artists?
Everybody's got to have a different way to come up with how to deal with this time, you know. So I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of different people who've come up with a lot of different ways to deal with it.
One of the things that I noticed, and I was a part of it, is portraiture. You're really interested in portraiture, and I think it's a special feel for someone to be able to paint another person.
I love portrait. I mean, I love working with people. Pets are extra, you know. But really, actually, I love pets too. I love working with people in mood, and I've worked a lot with performers and work in performance. I love working with people and with, you know, really like what you don't see, but what's the mood underneath.
What is the tip? What kind of tip would you give someone when you're teaching them to paint a person?
To open up your eyes and really look, to really see. Not what you think you see, but to be able to see what you don't really even know what you see.
And that means?
Well, I mean, there's a lot of ways to get at that. You've just got to come to drive-through and you'll see what I mean, okay? How's that?
You talked about performance art, too. Have you done sets or worked as a performance artist, or just being doing your artwork in front of people when you're talking about that?
To me, the whole thing of doing art, I mean, I don't really work like in a private, isolated place. I mean, there was one year I worked on a street corner in Manhattan when paintings of mine were selling for like under $10,000, and people had, I mean, I just went out, no one knew who I was, and I worked for 4 months on a street corner every day from 8 o'clock till 8 o'clock at night. That's performance art to me, you know, just to see people work and to demystify art, that it's not off somewhere in some hidden place.
Were people nice about it?
Oh, it was incredible. I mean, and I mean, where I worked in Hollywood, you know, I don't even know how many people come in every day. I'm totally public. I mean, anyone can walk in and see me working.
It's like your studio and you're working, and no matter who comes or goes, you just continue.
I'm working.
I see.
And also, that's the same thing. Well, you were at Drive-Through School of Art. To me, that's performance. You saw what I did. That's a whole performance piece.
Exactly.
You know.
Before we leave, you're so involved with the public that maybe museum work having your work in a museum isn't as important to you because you are out with the public and the public does get to see your work.
Well, I mean, I really think art should be for the people and art should get out there. And to me, mostly museums are the opposite of that, you know, and they close down and shut off or filter and you know, really limit and define what the public gets to see.
Well, we're going to look on every street corner. We're going to see if we can find any Tom X paintings. We'll look for you on the street corners.
In a town near you soon.
Yeah, at a town near you soon.
Okay.
And we'll be back with Juan Fernandez, so keep watching. Hi, I'm Joan Quinn, and we're back with actor Juan Fernandez. Tom X left his art on the set, so we're really happy that it's still here. Juan Fernandez has been featured in a slew of films: Salvador, Fear City, Cat Chaser, just to name a few. He's been directed by Abel Ferrara, Oliver Stone, and Zalman King. He guest starred on TV's Hill Street Blues, T.J. Hooker, and Miami Vice. And he's acted in the theater. But the first time I saw Juan Fernandez on stage, it wasn't the theater. Or maybe it was. He was modeling on the Paris runway with lots of attitude. I think he still has attitude. How did you do that, Juan?
What, the attitude part or the modeling
the
part?
The attitude part. Was it a game?
No, that's part of the things that we're born with. I was born full of life and full of energy and full of attitude. And
when you were sent out on the stage, did he tell you how to, did the designer tell you how to act?
No. The reason why they hired me was because I was so different, you know, and they liked the way that I presented. You know, I was like one of the first.
In Paris, on the runway?
There were like a couple of black boys, but there were male exotic were not
But you're
available.
not black.
No, I'm Spanish and Latin.
And where were you born?
Dominican Republic.
Oh, you were. So, were you modeling in New York?
Yes.
Oh,
I started working with Antonio Lopez, who
the great
painter, who was the one who introduced me to Dali, and Dali introduced me to Yves Saint Laurent, and from there he went on through 6 years of traveling with Dali, and that's how I became a fashion model.
Is that it? Mm-hmm, that was your transition into fashion modeling, being with all these artists?
Exactly.
But that seems like a strange way to get to the runway.
Well, Dali was painting me, and every time that a painter gets a hold of someone who's different, especially in fashion, not so much in the United States, more in Europe, they're more receptive to anyone who's different, and that's how I got, that was like my calling card, you know?
And then, how did you get to Paris?
I left my house when I was 17.
Did you?
Worked in a supermarket in New York City on 146th Street, and
did you just take a chance?
Just took off. Well, Antonio had left Paris, you know, and everyone that I knew, I was in junior high school, and what I was seeing in the school is not that different from what you see in schools today. A lot of kids are lost, doing drugs and all that kind of stuff, and I wasn't into it. I wanted to look for something else.
Did you like being directed by the designers? Did they give you a different kind of direction each time you would go out? Like, this jacket has to show sports or whatever.
No, not really. With me that wasn't my case, because it's like I was so different that if they hire me for what I had to present.
I
So
see.
it was like they didn't have anything to tell me, you know. It's like, I like you say, I was full of attitude. I already know how to pose. No one needed to tell me pose this way or look this way or look that way. I'm a hand for the camera.
So that was it.
Yes, that was it.
When you went into modeling, were you thinking of a career? Were you thinking of acting? Were you thinking of just modeling?
I was more thinking of being in the middle of all the situations, you know, like being seen. I had not finished high school, so therefore I didn't really have a job. People in Paris, because Dali was painting me, which was like a big deal. All of a sudden there was like the cream of all the designers of the world paying attention to me, and everyone is saying that I'm very different looking, very good looking. So very this or very that, you know, like for instance this photograph, you know. Can I pick this up?
Yes, please. This was one of the first, obviously.
Where's my
you look
camera?
like you're
Are you my camera?
you look like you're 12 years old there.
Well, this is what I looked when I was 16, 17. I still look like this, you know. It was, you know. Then that led into working a lot for Mugler.
Blend it forward. It has to tilt so the light doesn't hit it. That's it.
That's it.
But were you wearing these clothes on the streets too all the time?
Sometimes, you know, it's like, this is an interesting photograph. This is very theatrical.
Who took that photo?
This, as a matter of fact, is Stephen Arnold's.
Oh, it
which is a
is.
local photographer from
Yeah.
here, which is someone that I met when I was traveling with Dali in Spain.
Because
I've gone-
Stephen knew Dali as well.
Yes, he did.
You used to go
Yes,
to
he did.
St. Regis together?
Yeah.
Did modeling finally get boring for you?
Yeah, well, it did, because it wasn't, you can only take it so far. It gets to a point, it's not like then, you know, you only go so far. It's
So
not
you
like
were-
acting. You know, I have too much energy, so therefore it's like I have to control myself. And I always wanted to be an actor.
Oh, you
I
did?
started when I was a kid. I used to dance in the streets, you know, and pass the hat and make a quarter.
Oh,
And with those quarters, I used to go into the theaters. That's when the movies were a quarter.
Oh.
2 films for a quarter back in the Dominican Republic.
So you really did get
This
your
is what
background.
I wanted it to do. It's what I wanted to do. It wasn't quite directed yet, because I wasn't aware that, oh, that's what I want to do.
I see. But once you got on the stage and once you went with Dali and you were painted, etc., and then you had this big theatrical wedding, I never knew if you got married to Pat Cleveland just for the runway or if you were actually
No, we were
together.
lovers when we were in junior high school.
You knew each other from that far? I mean,
Yeah,
she
we
was,
used to get beat up. I'm sorry that I'm interrupting you, but it's a great story. We used to get beat up in junior high school together in New York City. We used to go to Louis D. Brandeis, which is on 84th between Columbus and Amsterdam. And the principal had to let us out. Everyone got let out at 3:45. We were let out at 3:20 because people were pushing us down the stairs. You know, it was like kicking us because we looked like this.
you looked fabulous.
Yeah, well, we look fabulous for fashion and for our artists like Tom and people like you, but the middle of the road, bread and butter, New York subway,
Yeah.
you know, it was,
Just this wedding dress, you told me, was the Zandra Rhodes dress,
Yeah,
and
it
it
was
was
the
the one that
Princess Anne wore to her wedding.
and that's a great picture. We were talking about your modeling career, how you got to the point of being a little bit bored and then making the transition even though you thought about acting since you were a young boy.
I was doing back and forth when I was living in Europe, you know. I used to do fashion in Paris, but I used to go to Rome. As a matter of
where
fact,
the films were.
that's where I started working in film. The first film that I did was with Federico Fellini, because Dali introduced me to Fellini. Now that led into a whole array of different films, like I worked with Carmelo Bene, I did Salome, which has Luna and Babushka. I worked with Carlos Sofia. I had a great list of
Did you work in another language? Did you work in Italian?
Yes, I did.
You
Yes,
did.
I'm
Was it
fluent in
easy
it.
for you to pick up?
Yes.
But so many male models don't make the transition. We have the female models.
Some have made a transition, it's not as obvious.
Oh,
You know,
maybe
if,
that's
if a
it.
girl is so beautiful, like for instance Iman,
Yes.
or Lauren Houghton, or the girls who became top, quote, big money makers, we already, as the public,
See them.
we see them, so we're looking for them. When we see them in film, it becomes like a big...
Different thing,
Yeah.
doesn't it? They make the transition. Sometimes they're not very good at acting, and so it takes a special whatever to do that. But what male models were like that?
I believe there's some around, like maybe perhaps Jack Scalia, you know. I believe that he started in New York. I'm not quite sure. There's quite a few other names out there who have, but it's like, once again, you know, the visual is because women have said that they get used by the men.
Yeah.
But is the way that it turns, women have used men all their life as accessories, because we always have been in the background. You get to wear the best clothes. You got the best jewelry, the best everything.
But you had the best attitude, and they typecast you, I think, in many of these roles because you always were so mean. We have a clip of one of those.
Salvador.
Yeah, tell us a little bit about what to look for in this.
Salvador is a very interesting for me because I knew that it was my film. I knew that it was my film, but you know, when I told my agent that it was my film, my agent thought that I was either drinking or doing drugs, or that I was going through metaphysical trips, because I knew that it was mine. It was just a feeling that you have, you know when you think that things are just right. And that's what happened. And I went to read, and Oliver said to me, you got the perfect look, but can you be mean?
Yeah.
And at that point, I got up and I told him a curse word, which I'm not going to use because it's probably going to be edited.
So let's see it.
Good.
Let's see it. He went for you.
Juan, oh, tú, ¿qué pasa? Son periodistas. Tráemelos.
¿Periodistas?
Sí. Yo estoy... ¿Está bien?
Déjalo.
Sí, sí. Estoy enemigo de Colonel Figueroa. Yo escribió en artículo.
Friends of Figueroa's.
I'm a friend of Figueroa's.
Móntalo.
Is it bad?
Movimiento y te rompo la madre.
Felipe! Llévate a este cabrón.
Vámonos.
He's a friend of Figueroa's. I was actually hit by...
Niente. Sargento, vengan acá. Quiero que busques los hombres y lo metes en aquel camión de aquí. ¿Entiendes? ¿Qué pasa aquí?
Atrapamos un camión de campesinos sospechosos.
Los tengo, por favor, déjame.
Ustedes.
Camina. Suéltame, por favor.
¿Tienen armas?
No tengo armas.
¿Estás seguro? Vamos, rápido.
No soy comunista, le juro.
Te preguntó que si tiene armas. ¿Por qué dejaste los papeles en la casa? ¿Con quién andas?
Comunista.
Quítate los lentes.
That's not funny, blowing somebody away like that.
Killing someone, a child, huh? Well,
What?
that's the politics of South America.
Oh, can you always make movies like this? What would your dream role be?
Well, my dream world will be, if it's in the films, to play a full human being with all their facets and all those colors, you know? Someone who might get the leading lady, who may not. but a full human being.
Instead of just one-dimensional
Stereotype.
man, a mean
Exactly.
person.
Exactly. People are not like that at all.
Well, you have such a hearty laugh, and we were laughing at the wrong time. Was it a mean laugh, or was it a
No.
joyous laugh?
Yeah, it was a joyous laugh because I can look back and, see the amusement for me, but at the same time acknowledge the pain that is happening in our civilization.
What about comedy? Have you ever thought of doing comedy?
I've done comedy.
Oh, you
I've
have?
done comedy. Yes, I've done it.
Have you done stand-up comedy in a theater?
No,
Do you think you could do that?
Of course I do. It's like when I go to the supermarket, even the grapes are oozing because I'm so sexy.
Well, sexy brings us down to leading man. Do you think you could ever play a leading man?
If I direct myself, I don't see why not. There's a whole bunch of other guys out there doing it. It's when he opens up. First the whole world, the way I see it, was everything was white. Even when it was bad films, bad TV, then everything went to black. Now we're starting to see like Orientals, not only Latins, it's starting to be more of a mix.
Real multicultural.
Exactly.
And we want to see our multicultural star, Juan Fernandez,
Exactly.
as the man who gets the woman. We'll look for that. Thanks, Juan, for being with us today.
Thank you for having me, Joan.
And thanks for being with us on the show. We'll see you next week.